Well, hey everyone, this is Don Smith, and today I would like to give you a quick tip on dodging and burning. And I know a lot of you are saying, oh yeah, I know how to do that, but I honestly think it's getting to be a lost art. For those of you who had the pleasure to work in a black and white darkroom back in the day, and I had a number of them that I had the pleasure to work in, dodging and burning were an essential part of finishing off a print before we would say that's done. I worked for a couple of years in the newspaper industry, and dodging and burning was essential to what we did. The reason I think it's so important, and the reason I'm doing this video, is because it's so important for me to direct my viewer's eye, to take a portion of a scene such as we have here and open up parts that are too dark and burn down parts that are too light. And that's easily said, but I think this comes more in a form of actually being able to understand what needs to be opened up, i.e. dodging, and what needs to be taken down, burning. So this was a picture that I had been working on that I shot a number of years ago that was in my files, and I wanted to come back and rework it with some of the new AI software that's out there. But pretty much I just got this image by opening up Lightroom, doing a few adjustments, and here we are. What needs work in this image, in my opinion, is all of this dark area in here. This is Carmel River State Beach in Carmel, California. It's, I don't know, a 40-minute drive, 40-minute drive from where I live. And this was just a beautiful sunset that I was able to capture one night. This is Point Lobos State Reserve, for those of you that know the area. That's the far north end of the reserve right out here. And this is just some black rocks that happen to be in the foreground. They have this sort of reddish algae, but you can't really see it in this shot. I used a Singh-Ray two-stop graduated neutral density filter and a polarizer, a Singh-Ray neutral polarizer, to help take the shine off the water and to bring the sky down a little bit. So that's great. Out in the field, as much as I can control with filters, that's what I'll do. The rest of it has to be controlled through post-processing techniques. So my goal here, I think this is just a little too heavy. It pushes the eye. My eye wants to come out here and jump out of the scene, and that's certainly not what I want it to do. I want it to linger in here and up in here. I want to work the eye up in that direction. So that's where it brings us to the art of dodging and burning. And I'm just going to do it through Photoshop's dodging and burning. I think Photoshop has done a great job now with their dodge and burn tools. So let's start out. The first thing you're going to see, I have a background layer. I'm going to click Command or Control J, depending if you're on a Mac or a PC, and we're just going to duplicate that layer. That's all we're simply doing. But this is going to be the layer that we're going to burn and dodge on. If we make some mistakes, we can trash the layer, we can start over. So if you come up right here, and I'm going to click, you're going to see there's the dodge tool. That's what we choose if we want to lighten. The burn tool is what we choose if we want to burn. This sponge tool, I really don't use it much. I used to. It'll sort of just tamper down areas similar to what the burn tool does, but it's not really an effect I like. I'm not going to go over it in this video. So let's start out with my dodge tool here. That's what's showing up in the tool palette. If I come up on top here, you're going to see I have over here where it says range. And I can work on highlights, midtones, shadows. This is what I really love about using the dodge and burn tool in Photoshop, is that I can work through here. Well, obviously these black stones are all, or black rocks, excuse me, are all a shadow. So I'm going to set that to shadow, and then the exposure, that's just simply how much do I want to burn and dodge. I usually will leave this in a range of 20 if I'm working on a highlight, to maybe up to 30 if I'm working on a shadow, as I'm going to start here, because I would rather build up the effect. So I'm just going to click now, and I'm going to start to lighten up these rocks in here. And as I do this, I think you're going to see this reddish kind of algae that I was talking about starting to be revealed. By the way, every time I release my mouse and I re-click, I'm adding another, well, I got it at 31%. Let's just say 30%. So when I did the first swipe, that's at 30. Then I released and I clicked again. I'm going to re-click in here. That's adding another 30% of the remaining 70%. So if you do a little math, that's taking 21% out. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I don't want to go overboard. I've just sort of lightened those up a little. I'm going to actually now, I want to dodge, or I want to burn down this sand. So we're going to come back to our tool palette, and we're going to go to the burn tool. Now this sand to me is a midtone. So that's what I'm going to click on. And if you remember highlights, I'm about 20%. Shadows, I'm about 30%. So midtones, I usually just start out around 25%. And I'm just going to burn off the edge here. I don't want my eye being tugged down into here. I want it working up and in through the shot. And the eye is going to go usually to the brighter portions of the scene. And I just keep clicking and working that in. Okay, so we're starting to get there. Now I want to lighten up these rocks here with this green algae in it. So I'm going to switch back over to the dodge tool. And that's saying shadows. I'm going to change that now over to midtone, because that's not a really dark shadow that I'm lightening up. I just want to give that a little touch up in here. Okay. Now, one thing I do at this point, you can see I'm on a layer. And what I want to do is turn off this eyeball. And notice, to me, it begs the eye to come out, out to the bottom left-hand corner. But when I turn it on, now it's wanting to work the eye back up into the scene. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. You can see, if I was to keep dodging, this is getting a little flat in here. So let me switch. I want to do shadows, and I could put shadows and highlights and midtones all on a different layer if I wanted to, and name them. That way I wouldn't get confused, or I wouldn't have to throw away everything at once. But if I start to do too much, it gets flat looking, okay? So I'm going to hit Command Z and back out of there. What I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to add another layer on top of layer number one, and I'm going to hold the Shift, Option, Command, and E key, and that's going to put in what I call a buffer layer. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my lasso tool, and I'm just going to lasso around some of these shadowy parts, and I'm going to want to build some contrast back into those while not losing the lightness that I already have. So this is just a loose selection. I'm going to click inside. I'll feather this about 300 pixels. That's just so the transition will work. Now, when you see that, it looks like it's only coming in here, but you have to remember it is that original selection. I'm going to come down to the bottom of the layer palette, and I'm going to grab a curves box, and I'm going to come right out to the edge here of where the data mass is. That's my shadow data mass that is selected in that selection. And I'm going to push up just a bit. And now, if I come about a quarter of a point up here, you can see this is divided into force in the background, and place another point and shift it left, that's going to make that curve more contrasty. And I will go a little bit overboard here. Now, when you see when I shift in the contrast here, it's really, if I go crazy on that, you can really see that red algae coming up. I don't want to go super crazy, but I want to just richen that up right in there. Now, because I'm on a layer, I can come over and I can take the opacity off. And I think I'm going to push it up all the way. And then I'm going to do one other thing here. I'm going to add one more Command-Shift-Control-E layer. And this is, I'm going to just burn this section down just a tinge. Just a tinge. So I might switch that over now to, let's go back here and get the burn tool. I think that's more in the mid-tone range because we've lightened it up. And I'm just going to hit 10. If you hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. across your numbers, it'll just keep changing in increments of 10%. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of a swipe, and I think I'm about there. I think I'm just going to get this little area down in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down to the bottom of my layer palette. I'm going to hold the Option-Alt key and turn everything off and turn it back on. Let's do it again. And hopefully now you can see that the eye is begging to come up, and there's some visual interest now that's in this foreground that wasn't there originally. I've revealed some of the beauty that's in there, and it's balanced nicely with the sky. I don't think there's anything back up here on this ridge. This little band of light was coming across naturally, and I'm just going to leave that as is. But now it looks like I'm actually getting that sun casting across those rocks. And that's how easy it is. So to kind of sum this up, gang, I really believe that dodging a burning is essential in almost every image I work on. I can't give you an exact formula, but it's just remembering to work the eye away from the brighter parts on the scene down here of the composition. Like bottom left, it's begging the eye to come in. Too dark in here, it's forcing the eye to go away. So we have balanced that up, and now I dealt with this, and I've invited the eye to come into this area. And I've also brought up some of these greens here on that. I don't know if that's algae or a moss that's growing on there. Some of you are way smarter than me would know. So anyway, that's the little tip I wanted to give you for today. I really hope that helps you guys out with your processing. And as far as our workshops go, we are looking, we've got a green light right now for our first workshop that's coming up end of September out in Grand Teton National Park. We still have 2 openings, and we have 2 openings for Monument Valley, which is going to be late in November and early December. And both of these workshops are going to be taught with Ron Madra. They're awesome. We're going to get Grand Teton in the peak of fall color, and Monument Valley, we're working with the Native Americans out there, and it's going to be a mix of landscape, portraiture, and environmental portraiture using the famous mittens out at Monument Valley as a backdrop. So it's really cool. Now, having said that, I'm going to preface it. Nobody knows where this COVID is going. We don't know where we'll be come September. But as of right now, that's our plans. But if you just check my website or send me an email, don@donsmithphotography, Barry will get back to you and we'll let you know where we're at. It's obviously moving every day, every week. So we're not in a great state right now, I know, but you know, I'm choosing to stay positive. We're going to get through there. Anyway, hope this has helped you out. Hope you guys have a great week. I hope you stay safe out there. And let's get through this virus by pulling together as a country and not apart. There's been too much of that lately. So anyway, until next time, this is Don Smith. You take care.